Well, I am so aware that all I do with my YouTube channel is muck around and show general shots of me hiking day to day. I do talk a little bit and give a little bit of advice, but I thought I'd actually do something a little bit useful, more useful. Sorry, I do feel like some of my videos are somewhat useful. No, they're not really. And do a little review of the socks, because they're a very important piece of equipment. Never underestimate your socks. So I thought I'd do the Darn Toughs. They're a little bit higher, and it's cool because my Injinjis are lower, so it's kind of a review between higher socks and lower socks as well as the different brands. So start with my Darn Toughs. Oh, by the way, they're both wool, so they're both got some merino wool in. The Darn Toughs have around about 40 something percent, and the Injinjis have around 60 something percent. So that does make them feel a bit different on your feet. The Darn Tough socks are a lot more, they're a lot stretchier, and they kind of have a compression aspect to them. They feel like they're compressing my ankle on the top of my foot, which is really nice. They're really snug. And they feel like they have a bit more give in them compared to the Injinjis, I guess because the Injinjis have more wool. They feel a bit more, almost a bit more solid. I've had the Darn Toughs for around about 4 months, and I've had the Injinjis for probably around half that time. Now, the Darn Toughs on the bottom, as with the brand name, they are absolutely great. The Injinjis, which I've had half the time, have already worn a hole through the bottom, quite considerably actually. I personally put that down to the Injinjis almost feel like they're a bit more, like the wool is a bit shinier and slipperier. So sometimes I feel like they move to the side in my shoe, so my foot's moving sideways a little bit. And they slip around in my shoe, and I think that's why they're getting more worn. The obvious plus of the Injinjis is that they're toe socks. They spread my toes. Actually, the first time I wore them, I could feel, even though it's the tiniest bit of fabric, I could feel the fabric in between my toes. And at the end of the day, my toes were a bit kind of, not achy, but I could definitely feel that something had been there that wasn't once there, and they are splaying my toes and helping me to use my feet a bit more correctly. Whereas when I've got my Darn Toughs on, I tend to kind of squish my toes up a little bit like this when I'm walking. I think it's something that I've naturally done over time. I think a lot of people do that, which is why Injinji make the toe socks so you splay your toes how you should. It's kind of encouraging your foot to walk in a way that it should do. So that's really a plus of the Injinjis. A huge plus of the Darn Toughs is their durability, but also they dry a lot quicker than the Injinjis. I feel like the Injinjis hold a lot of water for longer than the Darn Toughs. Don't get me wrong, they're not exactly both fast drying, but the Darn Toughs are definitely a lot better in that respect. I would say, in terms of feel of fabric on your foot, the Darn Toughs feel, again, more comfy to me than the Injinjis, but no huge difference. I personally prefer the height of these, so you can get different heights in both these socks, so there's no sway either way to which brand to choose there, but this higher height is way more suitable for me because for some reason the bugs like to go around just above my ankle for me, but also loads of I don't have gaiters, and so loads of rubbish will get in my shoes here, but they'll get inside of the Injinjis here. They will still get in my shoes here because with these higher ones, because I still don't have gaiters, but they won't get inside of the sock. I know the cure to that with these is to wear gaiters, but I just don't love gaiters. I don't want my feet being extra hot and my ankles being sweaty and that sort of thing. That's just a personal preference though. If you wear gaiters, you'll have absolutely no issue with having the lower socks because they do keep your ankles cool in the summer. again, I feel like the Darn Toughs have a bit more cushion at the bottom of the foot, and I think that might also be why there is less wear. They're actually thinner on the top than they are on the bottom. It's kind of hard to tell on the camera, but you can kind of see the way it stretches a bit more on the top and doesn't stretch as much on the bottom because it's a thicker material. And the Injini is just even all over. As far as I can tell, there's kind of no difference there. If I had to lean towards one, if I was forced to get one and one pair only, I would probably choose the Darn Toughs. But I would say both of these are great to have in your hiking pack, because one does things that the other doesn't do. So if Darn Tough made toe socks, it would be game over for Injini for me, because I would just wear the Darn Toughs, but they don't, unfortunately. So unless someone's going to correct me and say they now do, but I couldn't find any. So it's really worth having some toe socks and some normal socks. Sorry Injini, that's a bit of a negative for you, but I do like them. I'm not completely saying no to them, but yeah, Darn Toughs for me overall win, but have both for their different features. That's my little review at trying to be helpful. Hope that's given a bit of insight. They do both come in all kinds of different wool percentages and thicknesses. They're not just what you see here is what you get. I've actually got another pair of Darn Toughs that are thinner than this, which have been way better in the heat. And I've seen some Darn Toughs that are thicker than this also, but you wouldn't need much thicker than these ones unless it was winter time. You maybe had them for camp or it was snowing and stuff. So yeah, if you have any other questions, or if you have any advice of your own or comments about these socks, let me know. Or if you know any Injinis that maybe are a different material and don't really tend to do this on the bottom as much, that would also be helpful, because I am going to get another pair of these for the toe sock value. Okay, by the way, my legs are kind of hairy, but that's what you get when you hike and you can't be bothered to sort them out. Bye!